Good day. This is the third part of the discussion video on indeterminate forms and L'Hopital's rule. Before watching this video, make sure na napanood niyo na yung part 2 ng ating discussion video. Katulad ng sinabi ko sa part 1 and 2, we are going to answer these items from the exercises for discussion, page 187 of Math 21 module, part A. The instruction there is to evaluate the following limits, and so far, we are able to answer items 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Before ending the second video, um, I left item number 21 as an exercise or as an activity. So I hope na sinagutan nyo siya bago nyo panoorin itong third video natin. Tingnan natin kung parehas tayo ng naging sagot. For number 21, we are asked to evaluate the limit of ln of e raised to 3x plus 1 minus 3x as x goes to positive infinity. So ngayon, tignan natin anong type of indeterminate form ba ito. Well, as x goes to positive infinity, e raised to 3 times x is just e raised to positive infinity. So that is positive infinity plus some constant that is positive infinity. Ln of positive infinity is positive infinity. So meron ka ditong positive infinity. And we have here 3 times positive infinity, that is positive infinity. So you have here positive infinity minus positive infinity. Sabi natin, if ever you're dealing with an indeterminate form of type infinity minus infinity, what you have to do is to either combine them or you factor out something. Sabi natin, sa second video, I gave you a hint. So we use the fact that ln of e is just 1. Ngayon, titingin ka dun sa given mo. Well, it doesn't seem like you can factor out something. So ang choice yun na lang ay to combine these two terms. So how do you do that? Well, notice that meron kang multiplier dito na 1. And we use the fact that ln of e is equal to 1. So, yung 1 dito, pwede mong palitan ng ln of e. So, magiging limit siya ng term na ito. Ngayon, pinalitan lang natin yung 1 ng ln of e. Ngayon, itong nakamultiply sa ln, you can take that as the exponent of e. So, ang mangyayari, magiging ln of e raised to 3x na siya. Since 3x is just a multiplier of ln in here. So you can place 3x in the exponent of e. If that is the case, then you can express this as ln of this whole thing. Since you have a subtraction here, yung magiging operation niya sa loob ng ln ay division. Pero kung addition yun, multiplication naman yung nasa loob. Okay? So we have the following. So we have here ln of e raised to 3x plus 1 divided by e raised to 3x. So we are taking the limit of this one as x goes to positive infinity. For the limit of this one, you can divide first term by term. You'll get the following. And as you take the limit as x goes to positive infinity, you'll have here negative 3 times positive infinity is negative infinity, and we know that e raised to negative infinity is 0. So meron kang ln of 1 plus 0, that is just ln of 1, which is 0. Okay? So the final answer for number 1 is 0. Parehas ba tayo ng naging sagot? I hope so. Let us proceed with another set of examples. So, meron ka ditong limit ng function na naka-raise sa another function. Now, i-verify natin kung itong given natin ay indeterminate form of type 1 raised to infinity, 0 plus raised to 0, o kaya naman positive infinity raised to 0. Kasi if ever, you can express this as e raised to the limit of exponent times ln of the base. Okay? So, i-verify muna natin, alin dito sa tatlong ito yung form nitong number 13? Well, arctan, tan of pi over 2 is just what? We know that tan is sine over cosine, and cosine of pi over 2 is 0. So, it becomes a problem. Well, you consider here the polar coordinate system. Sabi natin, we are considering angles that are very close to pi over 2 and that are smaller than pi over 2. So this is your angle pi over 2. You have your angle that is larger, say pi. Angle that is smaller, say 0. So it's either this angle or this angle. So sabi natin, we are considering angles that are very close to pi over 2. Moreover, these angles must be smaller than pi over 2. So, yung angles dito, mas malaki sa pi over 2. Dito, yung angle dito ay mas maliit sa pi over 2. So, i-disregard natin itong angle na to. So, yung angle na hinahanap natin ay nasa quadrant 1. Ngayon, we are looking for tan of pi over 2 from the left. This is just sine of pi over 2 from the left over cosine of pi over 2 from the left. We know that sine of pi over 2 is 1. And we know that cosine of pi over 2 is 0. So, ang tanong na lang, is it 0 plus or 0 minus? Kasi it matters, di ba? Kasi doon nakabase kung anong value ni tan of pi over 2 from the left. Ngayon, sabi natin yung angle na kinoconsider natin ay nasa quadrant 1 and we know that cosine function is positive in quadrant 1. So, this must be 0 plus. Thus, tan of pi over 2 from the left is positive infinity. So this is positive infinity since, this is positive infinity. And since cosine of pi over 2 is 0, you have an indeterminate form of type positive infinity raised to 0. Sabi natin, if ever you're dealing with an indeterminate form of type positive infinity raised to 0, you can express this as e raised to limit of the exponent times ln of the base. Again, this is just e raised to the limit of the exponent times ln of the base. What we're going to do in here is to evaluate this limit first, and then kung meron na tayong value for this limit, we just plug it in here for our final answer. So, evaluate muna natin yung limit nitong function na ito. What is the limit of cosine of x times ln of tan x as x goes to pi over 2 from the left? Well, we know that cosine of pi over 2 is 0. So, we have here 0. And we know that tan of pi over 2 from the left is positive infinity. So, ln of positive infinity is positive infinity. Thus, this is an indeterminate form of type 0 times infinity. Sabi natin, if ever merong ln, meron kang 1 over ln sa denominator, iiwasan mo yun. Kasi kung ang indeterminate form natin ay 0 times infinity, meron kang dalawang choice. So, you either have cosine of x over 1 over ln of tan x, o kaya naman ln of tan x over secant of x. So, you have these two choices if ever you are dealing with an indeterminate form of type 0 times infinity. Kasi this will lead to 0 over 0 and this will lead to infinity over infinity. Ngayon, sabi natin, sa first and second video, if ever meron kang makitang 1 over ln sa denominator, hanggat maaari, iwasan mo yun. So, iwasan natin ito. So, we proceed with this one. So, this is just the limit of ln of tan x over secant of x as x goes to pi over 2 from the left. We know that the limit of ln of tan x as x goes to pi over 2 from the left is just positive infinity. How about secant of x? Secant of pi over 2 from the left is just 1 over cosine of pi over 2 from the left. Cosine pi over 2 from the left is known to be 0 plus. So this is 1 over 0 plus, thus this is positive infinity. So this is positive infinity over positive infinity. Thus, you can apply the L'Hopital's rule. Applying the L'Hopital's rule, this will just be the limit of the numerator over the limit of the denominator. As you can see here, you can cancel out secant of x from the numerator and the denominator. And you can rewrite this one as the following. Now, I want to give you another tip, okay? Another tip na magle-lessen ng number of solutions. Magle-lessen ng time in doing the solution. Okay. So, kapag nakikita ka ng secant of x and tan x sa iyong expression, it doesn't matter kung naka-divide, naka-multiply, naka-add, or naka-subtract. As long as nakakita ka ng secant of x and tan x sa iyong expression and you are asked to evaluate the limit, it is advisable to express this in terms of, it is advisable to express secant of x and tan x in terms of cosine and sine. Again, kung nakakita ka ng secant of x at tan x na magkasama dun sa expression, one advice lang, i-express nyo sila in terms of cosine and sine. Kasi kung hindi, you'll apply LHR multiple times and babalik ka lang din sa secant of x over tan squared of x by some steps. Okay? So you can apply LHR multiple times. However, babalik ka lang din sa secant of x over tan squared of x. Okay? So, ang gusto natin mangyari, ma-lessen yung solution. So, kapag nakita ka ng secant of x and tan x sa yung expression, it is advisable for you to express them in terms of cosine and sine. If that is the case, you'll have the following. So, ito yung secant of x mo, ito yung tan squared of x. As you can see, you can cancel out cosine of x in here. May matitira sa yung cosine of x times sine squared of x. Now, what is the limit of this one? The limit of cosine of x as x goes to pi over 2 from the left is just 1. And is just 0. And sine of pi over 2 is just 1. So, meron kang 0 over non-zero. You have here 0. But we are not done yet. Since 0 is just the limit of this function. But we are asked to evaluate the limit of this blue one, which is equivalent to e raised to this limit. So for your final answer, you'll have e raised to 0, which is equal to 1. This is your final answer for number 13. So i-recap lang natin, ano bang nangyari dito sa number 13? So, ang sabi natin, kapag nakita ka ng function, raised to a function, i-verify mo kung alin siya dito sa tatlo. So, it's either 1 raised to positive infinity, 1 raised to negative infinity, 0 plus raised to 0, o kaya naman positive infinity raised to 0. If that is the case, after verifying, you now express this as e raised to the limit of the exponent times ln of the base. Tapos, ang gawin mo, evaluate mo muna yung limit nun. Tapos, pag meron ka ng value for that limit, i-plug in mo na lang siya for your final answer. So, ipa-plug in mo yung limit mo dito, and you'll have your final answer for that item. Okay? Let's proceed with number 14. We have here the limit of this function raised to another function. Ngayon, i-verify muna natin anong type of indeterminate form ba ito. So we have here x goes to 0. So this is 0 plus e raised to 0. So that is 0 plus 1. So we have here 1. For the exponent, you have your 1 over 0. So hindi sinabi kung this is 0 plus or 0 minus. Ang alam lang natin, x goes to 0. So this may be positive infinity or negative infinity. Well, it doesn't matter kasi pasok naman siya sa criteria, no? Kasi exponent ni 1 pwedeng positive infinity or negative infinity. So we just write 1 raised to infinity instead, since hindi tayo sure. Okay. So if that is the case, sabi natin this is just the limit, e raised to the limit of the exponent times ln of the base. Again, this is just e raised to the limit of the exponent times ln of the base. Ang gawin natin, i-evaluate muna natin itong limit na to. And then kapag may value na tayo for that, i-plug in na lang natin siya dito for our final answer. Okay? So what is the limit of this one as x goes to 0? As x goes to 0, we know that 1 over x goes to infinity. We are not sure if it is positive infinity or negative infinity. For ln of x plus e raised to 2x, this is just ln of 1, and we know that to be 0. So this is infinity times 0. Thus, you move one factor, you have to move one factor in the denominator. Okay. For this case, we move 1 over x in the denominator. So the reciprocal of 1 over x is just x. So you move that in the denominator, you'll have the following. Now, this is an indeterminate form of type 0 over 0. Thus, you can apply the LHR. Applying the LHR, you'll have the following. So this is just the limit of the derivative of the numerator over the derivative of the denominator. Rewriting this one, you'll have uh, the limit of 1 plus 2e raised to 2x over x plus e raised to 2x as x goes to 0. As x goes to 0, this goes to what? We have here 1 plus 2 over 0 plus 1. So you have here 3 over 1. We have here 3. But we are not done yet kasi sabi natin 3 is just the limit of this function. But we are asked to evaluate the blue one. So you'll have to plug in 3 in the exponent of e. You'll have here e raised to 3. And e raised to 3 is our final answer for number 14. Again, as you observe in this item, meron kang function raised to a function, and we have verified that this is an indeterminate form of type 1 raised to infinity. If that is the case, then all you have to do is to evaluate the limit of the exponent times ln of the base, and then plug in the value later for your final answer. So e raised to 3 is your final answer for number 14. Okay? So far, we are able to answer these items, all these items except number 19. I will be leaving number 19 as an exercise. So, itry nyo na lang siyang sagutan. I-verify nyo kung anong type of indeterminate form ba ito. As you can see, this is a function raised to another function. So, it must be 1 raised to infinity, 0 plus raised to 0, positive infinity raised to 0. So, i-verify nyo. Verify that the value of this limit is just 1. Okay? That's all for today's discussion class. Thank you for watching and see you on our next videos. Bye!